Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon podcast. Startups love to talk about product, market, and money, but what about the people actually building the rocket? When hypergrowth hits, things break fast. Hiring goes sideways, culture turns into chaos, and compliance gets ignored until it's too late. Dr. Michelle Griffin has made a career out of fixing that. As founder of Griffin Resources, she's helped fast growth companies survive mergers and acquisitions, expand globally, and keep their people strategy as sharp as their product strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is Dr. Michelle Griffin. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have the most delightful voice. I think you're going to make this podcast 1,000 times better than it would have been. Always lovely to have a doctor on the pod as well. And boy, are we in the thick of things when it comes to culture and people. Because for those that don't know, Accenture, one of the largest consulting firms in the world, just laid off 11,000 people. It's about 1.2% of the workforce. I think they employ something like 790,000 people. And they said it's due to AI. It's an AI reskilling issue. They can't reskill these people for AI. I'm going to ask you, what off the bat, what's your hot take? What are we thinking?
Yeah, we're seeing it actually quite often with a lot of companies. Now doing mass layoffs or having a huge industry takeover, that's, I think, a tip of the iceberg. We're going to probably see that more and more. I'm starting to see it more in like very specific jobs or industries at the moment. For example, accounting, with accounting software becoming a lot more automated. And so we're seeing, some of the lower level bookkeeping type jobs. There's a lot of automation for account reconciliations and things like that. So I'm starting to see it in specific jobs, not necessarily a company-wide structure like that yet. And then I think we'll start to see things in robotics and some of that nature. Like some of these things are very quiet and you don't really notice them. Like, for example, toll roads. Obviously, we used to have people running toll booths and, I would say over the span of a few years, they started going into, license plate readers and things like that. And, there wasn't so much of a, issue as people kind of noticed those kind of disappearing over the last, I would say, took about 5 years, maybe less than 10 years to get rid of those jobs, if not completely. So some things are pretty obvious and others are not. And I think it's just going to be a shift.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you think Accenture, it's really AI, or do you think they're using it as an excuse to downsize because maybe they see business the consulting business is taking a hit due to AI, but they specifically said we can't reskill these people for AI, and that's a bit of a weird take.
Yeah, and obviously I don't want to speak directly to that company because I wouldn't really know, but
Yes.
I think that is becoming a huge discussion point in HR in general about upskilling people and trying to make it so that, the people themselves know how to use AI specifically for the job or the roles. We're also starting to see a lot of requests about, I would say, like career pathing people, so that, companies can try to keep them and upskill them. In many situations, it's just faster and easier to hire somebody that's already an expert, and you can have a single person overseeing, a large quantity of data versus individuals. So it could be a combination of several factors of you don't need that many people to do the same job. That's really common. But also the people with the lower skills are definitely going to be the ones on, the chopping block. Jeez. And it may not be that those particular people could not be upskilled. It's just not necessarily financially worth it for the company to spend the time and effort into doing that versus just handling it from a top-down perspective. And I think the other thing that comes into, like, from looking at it from a business perspective, which is kind of a cold way to look at it.
Yeah.
But, if you look at it from just like a pure financial aspect of it, overhead is very expensive versus, technology and streamlining
Yeah.
things. And, so even if we were to say like manufacturing and robotics, for example, if you have someone like Tesla, obviously attempted to do this and then had to redo a lot of the way that they did their robotics because they tried to automate way too much too fast, and the
Okay.
machines just needed more manpower for like actually programming it. And they tried to have it with less people. They ended up having to hire more people and train them in the robotics and then make sure the people knew how to program everything. So you become, instead of like a manufacturing person that is lower skilled and easier to hire and pay and use those kinds of people
Yes.
versus needing a programmer in manufacturing. So I think we're going to start seeing where, it's going to be harder for, lower skilled or newer people entering the workforce to find work, because if you say, well, we need you upskilled, where do you get your skills to begin with?
Yeah, that's my point. So what do these people do? Well, it's not directly a question at you, I guess, because that's not your field. But I was just wondering, is like, yes, it's easy to tell people, oh, you need to upskill yourself, but where do you get work experience when there is no work? Like, do you go and work for
Mm-hmm.
yourself, or what do? That's actually like a big macroeconomic issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know if there's any kind of widespread solution that a lot of companies are coming up with, unless they have like,
There's an
some
opportunity
companies are
there.
still having internship
Yes.
programs. There's still, trade schools that will try to work out, um, work experience as part of the program and things like that. I feel like that's what's going to really need to happen, is higher education is going to need to include skill building
Mhm.
as part of the education curriculum versus just book work
Yes.
and things of that nature. Like, you
Absolutely.
really have to, you can't just go to college for 4 years and then say, go get a job. And then you're entry level with 4 years of experience, expecting some kind of, companies are like, well, we need you to have experience. So yeah, it's going to take companies being tolerant to entry level people and then having a career
But
path for them.
tolerance and capitalism don't really go hand in
Exactly.
hand, does it?
Exactly. And that's what it's
Um,
like. It can be pretty brutal when it comes to, just making the economic decision about
yeah.
it.
So you talked about accounting, right? And I want to give you an example of how sophisticated the accounting software has uh, gotten. I use Zoho Books,
Hmm.
and it's not a sponsor. It's not like a plug or anything for Zoho, but it's so easy to use and so
Hmm.
intuitive that a child can do it. And I don't have an accounting degree. I don't even have, I mean, I studied a bit of accounting at university, but it's like for 1 year. I have sort of the basics, but it's so easy. So actually, I don't have to hire someone to do my own books. It's crazy. I can
Hmm.
just do it myself.
Yeah. And we did that for a long time until our businesses got more complex and
Yes.
we were able to hire a bookkeeper. We use talent from abroad. And
Okay.
so obviously it becomes more affordable that way. And then we have a domestic US side for our CPA firm, and
Yes.
our, kind of, they oversee what the foreign
I, th-
bookkeepers help us with.
I think sort of my point was if you're a startup, and
Hmm.
we always we think of startups like cool startups need people, they need to hire people. You don't need to hire a person to do
Mm-mm.
your books. If where in the past it was like, oh cool, what do we need first? A bookkeeper, and then now it's
Yeah.
sort of, so now you're already sort of downsizing the amount of people that you need because of tech.
Yeah. And a lot of that happens with, companies that can run really, really lean, which is really
Yes.
helpful for them. And, you don't need a lot of the back end overhead that you used to need. And that really has helped a lot of companies, scale in a way that they are able to, do the billable work or,
Mm.
sell or whatever their product sales, in a way that they, don't have to have as much overhead, and they can focus on, actually driving the business. And I think that this is a really good time for, people to either start, run their own business, have a
Mm.
startup and things like that, because it when I started my business, it's been about 6 years now, and bookkeeping and knowing all of the other parts of the business is something I had to learn. My background was HR, and I started, with our services doing HR services, and
before
which has
AI,
nothing to
right?
do with.
So it's like,
Yeah, and it was like, and all of that was like before there was, a lot of information about automation for bookkeeping, in which there
yes,
was some, and there still is some that work really well. Whereas, again, no plug to any company here, but, we use Stripe, for example, for credit card,
yes, yes,
transactions.
yes.
And what's nice is it automatically connects to our bookkeeping.
Yeah, yeah.
So when someone pays an
It's
invoice by
crazy. It
credit
just pulls
card,
it in. I don't have to do
exactly.
anything, and I just
And
allocate. Do.
yep. And it's so fast and it's so easy. So, handling your own accounting is really a good place for business owners to manage things on their own and still run their business, which is really helpful. And I think this is the one thing that my husband and I kept control of because of so much white collar crime and money
Yes,
laundering. And
yes.
it's the one thing I see happen to so many businesses, and accounting is one of the easiest places for money laundering to happen. And there's other places that you can move transactions around. I'm not going to give people tips on how to do that, but there's a lot of ways
This
that
is
we
not
have
a money.
seen.
This
And
is an alternative investment podcast, not a money laundering podcast. It's just not go. Let's
so
not go
it's
there.
definitely one of those things where you have to keep control of your funds. And as a business owner, that's the
Yeah,
one thing I refuse to let someone else move money around my bank account.
that's a good tip.
And
That's a good tip.
and yeah, because
Uh,
I've seen it happen to small businesses and big
yeah,
businesses, and
yeah.
it's really put them out of business or really jeopardize their business.
Okay, this is the part of the show where we have to talk about AI. Joking, but AI is everywhere. How has AI, in the 6 years that you've been in the HR industry, has AI fundamentally made your job easier? What's helpful? What isn't? What's the landscape like?
Yeah, so I have a multifaceted way to answer that. One, from my own
Cool.
perspective as a business owner, and then also how I see my clients impacted by that. So I'll give a general landscape on what my clientele looks like to give context to the listeners. So we provide HR services fractionally to small to mid-sized businesses. And right now I
Mm-hmm.
have about 80 or so clients. And they're in very different industries,
Nice.
and they vary in sizing. So my smallest client is 2 employees, the largest is 500. And they're everything from blue collar to white collar, nonprofit, government entities. So none of my clients really have anything in common, which is weird. I didn't go into a niche. I just provide
Yeah, I
an
was about
industry
to say,
service.
where's your niche? Like,
I don't have
usually,
one other
wow.
than we provide HR.
Okay.
So, and we don't make them change technology. So we learn and integrate into the technology platforms that they have, and we can process their payroll for them and with them. And we get an internal email address, and it looks like we have, become a part of the team,
Yes.
and then process
Yes.
their HR and payroll and their talent acquisition with them.
Okay.
And so from running it from my business, I use a lot of AI in my sales process. Obviously, I've seen a lot of people using it in LinkedIn, and
Yes.
I try to have my outreach on LinkedIn to still sound pretty human, but I use that as a really nice way to connect with other business owners and see if there's any synergies between my
Yes.
business and theirs, or even a way
Yes.
to promote our business. And so we do use a AI tool to help us with our outreach, and then we have humans pick up from there and actually
Okay.
talk and communicate and get and schedule meetings.
Cold
But we
outreach.
have to be careful.
Is it cold or warm outreach?
It's a little more warm because it's still
Okay.
part of my LinkedIn network, and I
Okay.
have to have a first or second connection to
Okay,
somebody to
cool.
make that happen.
Yes.
And LinkedIn is usually really good about keeping AI out of I've been put in LinkedIn jail multiple times, because if you have too much outreach and you look too much like you're using AI, they will lock you out.
Heaven
So
forbid you try to network on a networking site.
and so they do have a lot of control. So I make
Yeah.
sure to try not to, and I don't want to bombard people with ads. So I do use it as a way to just network, and then say, if it
Okay.
works out, great. If not, no big deal. So that's how I have personally used it. And 90% of my business has been driven by using AI to help with communication
Okay.
without trying to sound too robotic.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
got my
Yes.
business to 7 figures in 3 years,
Doing
which is
that.
not
Doing that.
normal.
So no, but I was about to ask you, but is there another part of that answer, or is that? Are we done?
So the other part
No,
of the
there is the
answer is
other
how the
part. Yeah.
clients are using it.
Yes. Yes.
So how we kind of notice from an actual industry of HR perspective, a
Uh-huh.
lot of HR and payroll systems are increasing the data analysis that's
Mm.
available. They try to do human predictor indications. For example, a lot of payroll services are now trying to indicate if someone is likely to leave the company. So they'll literally
By
look
looking
at
at
many
what?
factors. They'll look at the performance review scores. They'll look at their salary. They will look at how long their commute is to drive to work, and then see if all of those factors indicate if someone might, not be a fit
Crazy.
for the role, or might,
Yeah.
be looking for a job or something. And so, yeah, so they'll kind of just give you kind of indicators on that. Also, if you can, a lot of companies, they'll let you put
Crazy.
in like job descriptions, and then they'll help you evaluate if, putting a succession plan in place. So if the leader is leaving, who underneath them or anyone else in the company could be a fit for that job. And so they'll look at the resumes and performance reviews. And so you can use a lot of
Mm.
AI now to run the business, which
Yes.
typically has been HR's job to help do all of that analysis. And now all of that can be done through the systems.
I think that is a brilliant segue into my question. You said you don't really have a niche. So usually when you have a niche, then sort of you have a moat, and you got that moat by being different or having a differentiating factor or something.
Mm-hmm.
So what is yours? And you just said that AI is doing a lot of what HR used to do, and you are
Mm-hmm.
doing really well. So what are you doing better than other HR agencies?
So typically, a lot of HR consultants will charge a flat fee or a retainer fee, and there's kind of a set structure on what's provided within that fee.
Mm.
What I did was create a very large HR department, so I have about 40 team members, and we charge a little more like a law firm. We charge in 6-minute increments.
There we go.
And then it's
Bec-
like a lower level HR person is, starts at a lower rate. And then we go up to specialist, to VP of
okay.
HR. And we clock all our time for the month. And then we send you a bill at the end of the month. And we only charge for the time we spent. And it helps with any company that might want only a specific service. Like some of our payroll services where we just process payroll, it only costs the company like $500 or $600 a month to do that.
Yes.
And for them, if usually it's like a CFO or a controller at a small business that is like doing the payroll, and it's just kind of a mental annoyance to stop and run payroll every other week, than it is to just say, go run it for me and I don't have to think about it. And so
Do you know
we kind of just
how many founders don't want to look at money going out of their accounts or employees getting paid? That's something
it's just
I've had that discussion, and that's why they outsource. A large reason why some of them outsource payrolls. They don't want to.
yeah. Yeah, they
They don't
just
want
don't
to
want to
do
have to,
it. Mm.
yeah, they just don't want to deal with, a lot of just answer, even like a lot of what we do can be
Yes.
answering the emails about someone asking questions about their check. And if
Yes.
a company, usually around 10 to 15 people is when they start implementing paid time off policies,
Yes.
jury duty, bereavement, whatever. And so then you have to put all those policies in place. You have to manage that time off and things like that. So
Yeah.
once a company gets to about 10-ish people, that's when they have to start competing for talent from bigger companies. And those people are used to seeing those competitive benefits. And so small businesses have to put those in place. And we come in with the ability and expertise of someone from a big company and help small companies look and feel like a bigger company and bring that to the table for them. So that's where we differentiate ourselves, because we will do it on a very small scale of time. And it's, that way small and mid-sized businesses can afford it, because a lot of times we're only hired to work 2 to 5 hours a week. We're talking
Yes.
not even a part-time job.
Yeah, fractional. It's not even
And
fractional. It's less than
yeah,
that.
right.
Awesome. Love that. Michelle, last question before I let you leave. If you could give founders scaling in 2025 and into 2026 one piece of advice, what would it be? Hire faster, plan earlier, or listen more? What is it?
I think what you mean by listen more. It's
Listen to your employees.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a lot to pay attention to,
Yes.
and you have to be able to pivot. And the
Bingo.
landscape is changing very, very quickly. You have to keep up with it and you can't give up. And so I would say either if it's listening to the changes in your industry, reading economic reports, understanding how that's impacting you as a business owner, and obviously listening internally as well as externally. And, being able to, you have to obviously pay people to the best of your ability. That is, obviously at least on, some kind of average scale. So you at least help them that.
Please pay your people a living wage, please.
Yes. And I was like, so treat people fairly.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And so that's what I've noticed is really helpful, and understanding, obviously why you would be a good place to work for people, and bringing that to the table for them.
Awesome.
So.
Love it. Michelle, thank you so much for joining me today. If the listeners want to go and connect with you and find out more about what it is that you guys do, where can they do that?
Website's the easiest, griffin-resources.com.
And we'll leave all the links in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me today. And to our listeners, peace, love, and prosperity. And we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Signal fires under russet skies, concrete veins where the silence hides. Every breath is a wire pulled tight. I can't tell if it's day or night. Static in the marrow, voltage in the blood. Every step's an echo, dragging through the mud. Cut me through the noise. I don't wanna be hollow. Feed me back my voice. I'm not here to follow. Grinding gears collide. I'm alive in the friction, living like a fault line, breaking the prediction. Ash stained glass and a shattered frame. We keep moving, but it feels the same. Whispers bleed from the metal and stone. Crowds around me, but I'm still alone. Static in the marrow, voltage in the blood. Every step's an echo, dragging through the mud. Cut me through the noise. I don't wanna be hollow. Feed me back my voice. I'm not here to follow. Grinding gears collide. I'm alive in the friction, living like a fault line, breaking the prediction. This pressure keeps folding me in, but the cracks let the daylight in. I won't drown in the weight of machines. I'm the ghost in the circuitry screen. Cut me through the noise. I don't wanna be hollow. Feed me back my voice. I'm not here